Hello, hello, everyone.
Hi.
Hi, Donata. How are you?
I'm so good. How are you? I'm so excited to be here. Can I just say that? I'm so excited to connect with your community.
Absolutely. We are so excited to host you. For those of you that are new to Base Live, I am Liz Prue. I'm the VP of Marketing here at Base, the first ever platform built for assistants. And today's Base Live, which by the way, our Base Lives are weekly and they're free, and we host them for our wonderful assistant community, whether you're watching here on Facebook or on YouTube. Our topic today is the new leadership paradigm. How to find authentic flow and be fully aligned in life and business. And our wonderful guest here today is Donata Boston. Donata has spent over a decade working in support roles for some of the top leaders in the entertainment business. And today's chat will be an open and honest discussion on how you can find more joy in your life and transmit that joy into your professional life. So welcome, Donata. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited. Like I said, it's interesting. So I'm now no longer in a support role now, but it's such a dream to be able to speak to a community that I relate to so deeply, because I have such, it has made such an impact in my life to be in those roles. And I don't really think you shake that off so easily. I think you remain in this mindset for the rest of your life. And you transmit that into every area of your life as well, and no matter where you go. So I'm really excited to kind of share some of the tools that I've found have completely changed the way I relate to my experience. And a lot of it was inspired from those years being in such deep support roles and 24/7, and giving everything of myself from myself to those roles.
Absolutely. I even being, excuse me, a marketer, I work with assistants all day, every day, and I feel the impact 24/7. I recently got I have my first assistant ever that just joined our team at Base from Spanish. She's fabulous, and it's just it's like changed my life just in how she's a partner. I think of her with everything that I do, and I leverage her support, and we're able to do wonderful things like Base Live today here with you. I noticed a bunch of you just hopped onto our live. Welcome. So today's topic about finding your authentic flow, we're going to talk a little bit about how it's not about work-life balance, but about knowing what makes you fulfilled and channeling that throughout every aspect of your life. And I think that's so important today too, as we just kicked off this month, Mental Health Awareness Month. And I think this directly flows into that. So I'm really, really excited to get started today.
Yes.
I'm so pumped. So Donata, I have so many questions, and we had several questions submitted from our audience.
Amazing.
I thought to kick things off, so our audience today, it's full of administrative professionals across several different industries. And we'll be discussing how you can find balance, particularly within that role. Before we kick off, I'd like to define what joy means to you, because I feel like I was thinking about this in preparation for this chat, and I think sometimes I think about joy as, I think oftentimes we look at it as something that we have to achieve in all aspects, and we start chasing it, versus finding it in little pieces and noticing how that affects everything else. So I'd love to get your perspective on that, like what joy is.
So it's a very good question. The way I've come to relate to it, and what I realized was missing for myself, is that I was, like you said, constantly seeking that pleasure, the joy outside of myself. And I was at the mercy of my circumstances and of my experience. So instead of, chasing it and seeking it from the external, one day I just came to realize it has to be something that I harness within myself, because I don't want to be dependent on what's going on outside of me to be able to really feel that. And so what you said is so true. And we could have titled this whole conversation psychological immunity, because which is, immunity is such a big topic right now, but that's really what it comes down to, is how do you become the master, the conductor of your own life, so that you get to decide what frequency you're bringing into every day. And joy becomes something that you create within yourself and that you bring out into the external, versus taking in the external and then defining your joy, your happiness according to what's going on outside. So to bring it all the way back, I think when I started reflecting on this really deeply, I've been working nonstop. I think a lot of us have been in this mindset, and in the, in this career in particular, where you're so busy, you don't really have time for self-reflection a lot of times. What happened with me was I was in its career path for 10 plus years, and I was really, really good at it. I was super efficient. I was going, and it was working, to a degree. And that's kind of the tricky part, is as long as things are flowing and you're kind of checking things off the list and your life goes on, you don't take the time to really assess, well, what's wrong, because it's all kind of underlying. But I'd been growing my career with this, kind of constant minor anxiety in my tummy that was pushing me and motivating me to do more and to prove myself over and over, but it wasn't giving me the peace and fulfillment that I think we're all seeking in life. And it really took me getting sick and, getting physically ill and so drained and so depleted for me to take a step back and say, okay, something's wrong, because I'm doing all the right things. I'm eating really healthy. I'm working out, I'm making time for all the things that people say you should do. And yet my body's falling apart. And that's when I had to take a step back and say, wait a minute, is this working for me? Because really what's motivating me every day is for me to go and prove myself, for me to get the praise, get the approval. But that's very much dependent on the outside. I don't have control over I'm not in charge of, the universe and how things unfold. So how can I protect myself and create a safe bubble for myself and bring that into the world, versus letting the outside define me? And that's when I started doing my research and coming to the realization that my self-expression had been stunted from childhood, and that was the reason why I was so resilient, why I was so great at anticipating everybody else's needs, because I was used to making sure I was whatever the room required me to be in order to survive, in order to, to make it. And it takes a lot of unraveling to get to the point where you can hear your own voice again, your own thoughts and your own desires. And I've come to realize that that's how you end up creating real joy in your life. And not only do you create it for yourself, you bring that into everything that you do. And it inspires others to be their whole authentic selves.
I think it's so interesting that you said the notion of seeking validation and that being a main driver in why we work, because that is, yes, that it is important to have what you're doing be validated, but there's that piece of that being the only thing that drives you, and not checking in with yourself and seeing if this is something you should be doing, versus what, like you were saying, you were working out, you're healthy, you're spending time with your kids, doing all these things that you're supposed to be doing, but we oftentimes forget to listen to what we actually need. And I think the hardest part is, even if you recognize, hey, I don't think I'm really happy with what I'm doing right now in my work. And a lot of times it's not that big realization, right? Like, we've all been in always hesitant to use this word, but for the sake of conversation, a toxic environment that we're working in. And those are easy to pull out, like, oh, I can't be here anymore. But a lot of times it's not that apparent, that maybe this isn't the right situation for you, or the work you're doing isn't serving you. So I'd love to talk a little bit about how do you recognize that, or how do you, like, if you're starting to feel that pit in your stomach, which it's funny. Another thing, funny you say that too. A couple years ago, I had a client when I was consulting, and I always had like this pit in my stomach when I was working with them. And my husband said, I was complaining to him about it or whatever. And he said, that feeling means that you care. It doesn't necessarily mean that you care about this client, but you care about what's happening to you. So what are some things that we can do, whether it's getting in a right mindset or even like an exercise, to help you recognize those patterns? And how often do you check in with yourself? That's a bit of a loaded question, but.
No, it's a great one. And it's part of the whole routine of debunking your beliefs. Debunking it goes all the way back to, what is your self-worth? Where do you drive? Where do you harness your self-worth from? And how do you relate to yourself? What is your relationship to yourself? And so you come back to, first of all, self-reflection. I think that we've lost, like we said, the space, taking the time to just give it a second and reflect on, how am I experiencing my reality? What are the thoughts that are driving me on a day-to-day basis? And it really takes a moment. What I want to encourage people to do, especially in this industry, is do not wait to get sick. Do not wait to get, drained to the point of, I can't anymore, I need to completely revamp my life. It doesn't have to come to that point where you have to kind of set the whole house on fire in order to really start listening to yourself. It's something that we all need to do, and it's a daily practice. So to come back to, like, what can you do and how often do you do it? It's a daily thing that you do, and it's not over. It's not something that you do and then you've done it and you can check it off the list and you move on with your life. It's something that you have to continuously do, first of all, because we want to change. I think we are so set in finding the right job, and then that being it, or finding the right career path, and now I figured it out and now my life can unfold. But when really the whole point of life is to continue to be curious, to continue to be creative, and to be encouraged to reinvent yourself over and over and over, but to make sure that it is in alignment with your true nature and with your true purpose. And to me, your true purpose is simply your full expression. If you can bring your fullest expression into every moment of every day, you don't have to worry about defining your purpose. You're living it. You're living it right now. And it is going to carry you divinely into where you need to be. But how do we create that? And how do we take that step back? It has to come from a willingness to ask for more. You have to come to the point where whatever it is, you can kind of sense that you're playing small, or you sense that you lose yourself a little bit, that you're answering. I still experience this, and I audit myself every day, not in a strange kind of like overly mind way. It's more in my body. So I check in with my body and see, okay, how am I relating to this? How's this current conversation making me feel? Okay, I'm saying yes to going out for dinner with this person. I said yes because, I have time, but how does it make me feel in my body? Do I actually want to go? And to be really radical about listening to your body first. So you start with debunking your beliefs, auditing yourself. Start just paying attention. Just come into awareness and start your day with, okay, today I'm just going to observe myself. I'm going to observe my level of authenticity and everything that I encounter. Why? Am I speaking in a different voice when I'm talking to this person? Why am I getting nervous when my boss is calling me into his office? What does that mean about how I'm presenting myself? Because we're all self-leaders. And I want to encourage, you're going to be respected and embraced in your organization, in your life, in your friendships, the way you present yourself. You're opening the door to criticism. And I don't want to make, but there is a level of just responsibility that we need to carry within ourselves. Yes, the environment might be toxic, but are we allowing that toxicity into our field? So just paying attention, investigate what's happening in your life, investigate how you are showing up and how it's making you feel. That's step number one. And for me, for instance, one of my underlying beliefs that I noticed pretty early on was that I cared more about what other people thought of my impact or of myself than I trusted me and the value that I was bringing. So it was more about, okay, how is everyone feeling about me and what I'm doing versus I'm crushing it, and maybe there's a mess up. Maybe I'm not, performing as smoothly every day. By the way, we all have days where we're off and where we're making mistakes. But how do I feel about what I'm bringing to the table energetically? I'm fully here. I'm fully present. I'm fully committed. Is that not enough? Why do I then still worry about anything on the external and how that's, reflecting my self-worth? So
No, go ahead. I don't
Yeah,
mean
and I'm just saying, when I came to realize, so once you start noticing these underlying beliefs that are running your day-to-day, that are running your life, then you start debunking it and questioning, well, is that how I want to feel? It is a choice. Once you start paying attention and you bring awareness to the way you're running your life and to these underlying beliefs, you get to choose. You get to choose to override them. And when I looked at that belief, I'm like, well, that doesn't sound like something I want to experience daily. I don't want to be at the mercy of how everyone else feels about me. How about how I feel about me? So I'm going to start training myself to override this because I get to choose. I'm the conductor of my life.
That should be on a t-shirt for one, the conductor. I love that. And I think, and it's important too to think about, we talk about goals a lot here at Base, and objectives and key results, or key performance indicators, whatever your business calls it. And I think once I'm understanding this in how you're walking us through it, is that if you accept this mindset, it transmits to how you approach your work. And I think if you're unhappy at work and you're not sure if it's work or if it's home, if it's stress because your kids are still half in school and half out of school, and it's all of these different things, it's hard to, usually the first thing that falls is work. And people start to notice that and they get stressed, and then you get stressed, and then everything kind of trickles from there. But this mindset can help you look at, if I'm looking at it in a way of how, like what I would do, I'd say, okay, how am I actually measured at work? What should I be working on? Is this something that I should be doing? And just starting to prioritize the actual work that you are doing, I've found that it can help relieve a little bit of that stress.
Yeah.
And of course, I can plug Base here too, like leveraging different technologies to help you organize different things with what you should be working on for the leadership that you support, or which fires you need to put out first. If you don't have an idea of what is most important at work and what you should be working on, then you're just going to be stressed and your head's going to explode, and then everything's just going to keep compounding from there. So I think it's that, yes, in life, approaching that too, but I found with work, just stealing that mindset for a little bit and saying, what actually am I serving right now? Even as it relates to the business that you're in, what, so that way you're not getting stressed out in just the work environment too. which I think we've all found over this last year more often than normal, because normal, whatever normal is anymore, because we've been stuck at home and everything's been changing so much.
Yeah, I think that we still think in such small terms. We don't give ourselves enough credit. I think that there came a point where I was like, you keep questioning yourself, but you've built all of this on your own. You're here, you've worked your way all the way to this point, and you're still worrying about, are you prioritizing things right? Are you doing this right? You've already proven that to yourself. I think the more we focus on that, we still stay in this narrow minded kind of way of looking at, oh, my to-do list, oh, my tasks, and how do I make this work? When really, when you're driven by the bigger picture, your core motivator, and your true purpose, like you said, and you're fully connected and aligned with what you're bringing to the table, redefine your value. It's not about the things you're checking off the list. It's not about, it's how are you showing up? Your energy is good energy once you're connected to that and you're driven by something that's bigger than yourself, and you're fully aligned with the mission of the company that you work for, even if it's a small part of it, even if you are in a toxic environment and it's really hard for you to find a connection. If you understand that your energy is good energy, maybe you are in this toxic environment to be that light, even just for a moment, to change the frequency of the room that you enter, to change the conversation, to bring something new to the table, to become fearless in your approach and how you feel about things, versus I have to adapt to this toxic environment and survive and dog pedal my way through the situation. Do you get to be the person who sets the tone? And we are in such important positions as in support roles. We have direct access to some of the most important people who are driving this whole thing, who are moving the needle. We underestimate the value of the energy we're bringing into every task versus it being perfectly prioritized, perfectly checked off the list, perfectly perfectly done. That you've already proven that to yourself simply by the fact that you got hired. You're in that role. You already know how to do the things. Now, can we take it to the next level? And I think that's where BASE is such an important tool, because it takes kind of the basic stuff out of your to-do list. It automates so much of the energy leaks that we can experience in these roles that are just draining our battery and don't leave enough space to ask those bigger questions, to get into alignment, to start, really bringing our full expression to everything that we're doing. BASE is a huge part of that for the future of what these roles look like.
And I think too, it's so important that you said too, know your value and recognize, like, you got hired, you're in the role, and maybe your job is to change the temperature of the room. And I would love to know one person that is positive and knows their worth and goes into a room and doesn't make someone else feel good. I've never seen
right?
it happen where that person comes in and then they leave and everyone's like, oh, isn't she the worst?
And listen, your confidence can definitely trigger people, but that's not, that doesn't need to be on your radar. People will, if it triggers people, hopefully they use that as a reflection tool. So for me, it's also about, so first of all, we said you bring awareness to yourself, to your day-to-day, to your situation. You kind of pay attention to your limiting beliefs and what is keeping you small and what is driving you in a way that doesn't quite feel right. And then you redefine your value. You really start paying attention to, can I believe that maybe just being me is enough? Just me and my whole self. I'm already there, and I know that I'm playing small, and that has worked for me. And I was able to survive, even though I was bringing a fraction of myself to this. What if I started giving more of myself and just paying attention to that and taking off my plate all of the basic things, thanks to, apps like Base, and also thanks to me redefining what that looks like for myself, and then focusing more on my energy that I'm bringing to the table, really being a leader. And then the third part would be, what is your vision for yourself? Once you start really paying attention, and that's when these tools like dancing, meditating, journaling are really, really helpful. That's the real moment of self-expression and being creative. Like we talked about, we all have these, little creative outlets, hopefully, that we've either had or that we're still trying to create into our lives. Really making space for that, even if it's for 5 minutes. I'm a big proponent of do it in small bite-sized chunks, because we know how busy the day gets. And if you start creating a practice that takes an hour and that has to be perfectly aligned with the perfect weather and all that, you're just not going to do it. Give yourself 5 minutes before you run out the door of, let me sit in just silence, come back to your breath. We can do some of this later on if you guys would like to. We can just practice it. Keep it simple. Keep it simple, and then from there build and create something that resonates with you, and connect to, what is my vision? Who do I want to be in this world? What is the energy I choose to bring into my workspace that will have an impact on everyone that I encounter today? That is the biggest responsibility that we have in this world. How am I going to impact the people around me? Not by saying the perfect things, just by being in presence and service. And what I do, I use I don't know if people use some of the tools that Lacey Phillips does, that she does manifestation work here in Topanga, where I live. I don't know if you've heard her name before, but she speaks about expanders. So find people who are inspiring you and reflect a little bit on, what is it about them that I would like to embody, and start creating this vision for yourself of, this is the person that I am meant to be. This is the energy. This is the peace. This is the surrender. This is the leadership energy that I want to bring into everything that I do today, and connect to that. And it's a practice. You will learn over time to just snap into it. And throughout the day, as you get triggered, as you get sidetracked, as you get, busy, you get that pit in your stomach, take a second, connect back. The more you practice, the more you have access to, what do I actually want to feel? And once you start embodying that, you attract that life into existence. That's how it happens. It's not about building in a linear way. We'll never have time for that. We're already in the go, right? We embody it and it comes to us. And that's how we end up being perceived. And that's the leadership skills that we bring to the table. And we stop worrying about the to-do list, and we start worrying about our connection and our energy field that we're bringing to the table.
I love that you brought up leadership in that, because if you look at any leader, whether it's someone, super famous that you look up to, or someone in your organization, or just a friend, all of those people, and I'm just thinking of folks that I look up to, they all say, well, this leader does this, and I started doing that myself, or I started looking at what this person does. Like, no, I don't know of any leader that, has this alignment and has this mentality that doesn't lean on other leadership, or lean on other role models.
Absolutely. We're just regurgitating the same stuff that we've seen around, but that inspires us. And the thing is, that's what it is. It's not something you can fake. You can't fake your energy. You just have to sit with it and say, yeah, that resonates with me on a deeper level. When I sit in silence, these are the people that come up for me, because I know that there's some of that inside of me, but it's just been stunted. And it just hasn't had the ability to be fully expressed. You will know, and only you know. That's the beauty of it. It's all inside of you. You don't need it. Yes, you can use me. You can use a coach. You can use, you can use inspiring podcasts. You can use all types of different external tools to remind you, but it really is inside of you.
Mm-hmm.
What you do when you look at the external is just you find people who can help you shortcut back into that core essence. And that's what I help people do, is just, let's talk about your beliefs. Let's start debunking it together. And I kind of take them through this process so that they can find this, they can unravel it quicker and find a connection back to themselves in a faster way versus going through the whole process like I did.
A lot of our audience loves getting recommendations on books or authors that from our speakers, and I'm sure you have several. I'm kind of putting you on the spot here, but I'm looking at the questions submitted ahead of time, and a few people asked. So, is there anyone that personally whether it's a blogger or a specific book or even just a specific piece that
guys, yes, so many, and I'm creating my website right now, by the way, and I think this is what's taking me the longest time, is just I'm creating a whole reference section of just links to everything that has helped me along my way. And for me, it started, there's always that one seed that kind of starts unraveling the whole thing. And for me, it was Michael Singer. I don't know if you've heard of Michael Singer and the Surrender Experiment. He wrote The Untethered Soul, which is kind of the theory around there's a voice inside of me that's running the show. And noticing and kind of distancing yourself from the incessant chatter that's happening inside that's running the show versus you actually taking control in your own life. And he wrote a second book called The Surrender Experiment, and that one just changed my whole perception of, I don't need to chase what I think is good for me. I can let the things I'm chasing start chasing me. So coming to a place of, if I'm in alignment, everything unfolds from there. And it gave me such a sigh of relief, because I was so tired. I was so tired of the efforting and the proving, the playing small, but then not being in control, like being somewhat paranoid of my environment and like, am I doing it right? And that whole sensation, I can feel it right now, if I'm focusing on that, versus I'm okay, I'm aligned, I'm safe, my body keeps me safe, and I'm grounded, and I know what I'm bringing to the table, and now everything can come to me.
Do you have a mentor or mentors that you work with?
I have and have had several. I listen to some crazy shit, guys. Like, I go into some weird places, and because I like to look at the full spectrum of what's out there and to really take the bits and pieces that resonate with me. So none of it is all of it for me. It's really just the bits of wisdom, and I find it in so many places. I find it in so many religions. One of the key people I think that everyone should listen to, that's like just such an amazing, brilliant thinker right now, is Peter Crone. He calls himself the Mind Architect. You can find him. He's very very well known and out there. He's on several podcasts, including Aubrey Marcus's podcast. And he has some really powerful mind hacks to start thinking of things relating to your experience in a more expansive way and create more freedom in your day-to-day life.
Have you found any, and I'd love for you all to drop in the comments too, maybe if your employer does this, but have you seen any organizations, I guess this would fall more under mental health awareness, but start any type of committee or even like a wellness allowance, or have you seen any organization prioritize this topic for their employees, or I'm just curious if this is something that's being discussed in the workplace at all. So yeah, if you're watching, drop in the comments if you do that, or if you have your own network. I see some folks that have been here before or in their own communities and networks where they talk about this a lot. But I think personally for me, I need to speak with someone about this, which is why there are wonderful coaches like yourself. But I'd be curious what you would recommend.
What I've heard is Dropbox is doing a good job. I don't know if anyone else has heard that. I just heard that recently. I think it's becoming more and more of a new leadership paradigm. I think that we are encouraging, I know Vegamore, I work with this company Vegamore, who's doing amazing things in the beauty world. And they're big proponents of, everyone should be fully expressed in their roles, bring their full selves to the table, and to stop kind of linearly thinking about the results people are generating, and more so, how are they contributing in a bigger way? Are they raising their hand? Are we creating an environment where we're encouraging people to actually express themselves and to bring new ideas to the table? That's the way you create a really powerful community, not just of support roles, but in general. The company sets the tone. But what I want to get people to redefine is, what are you bringing to the, stop waiting for your company, for your boss, for anyone else to create the perfect environment for you to feel safe to be self-expressed. Can you find that within yourself? And you start setting the tone, and you bring that to the table, and you become a brave and fierce cheerleader for these changes that need to happen. Because it takes all of us. We can't think in terms of, roles or positions. It's about, do you feel like this is going to make a difference? And can it start even with the conversations you're having today with the people in your office, around you, with your boss, because it will inspire people. It's never when we push things that things change. At least with me, that's never been the case. When I try pushing, ideas down people's throats, they kind of back off and they're like, what is going on? What are you talking about? You start embodying it. You embody it, you become so happy and at peace with yourself, no matter what's happening on the external, that people come to you and they're like, what is going on? You seem so relaxed. You seem so zen. You seem so, and you're speaking up in moments where everyone's kind of shying away. What's your secret? And that's when you start having the conversation and things really change. Because I do believe we're all here to change the world that we're in. Look at it. We all need to start stepping up. We can't be playing small and waiting. What are we waiting for? Are we waiting for somebody to come save the day? No, it's us. It's us that we're waiting for. And there is no position too small or too big to start creating that change. Can you inspire others around you to be in their fullest expression? If we all started doing that, it'll create the tapestry of the new world that we're trying to bring to life. And it's also, so the last part, we talked about debunking the beliefs, redefining your value, creating your vision, and then it's about integration. How do you integrate that with, your daily practice of continue to audit your behavior? What's the frequency of your vision? How do you, where are your triggers throughout the day? Where do you get, where do you get a little bit sidetracked? Where do you feel that this anxiety keeps creeping in, or you start, losing yourself in service for others versus in service for yourself? And start using these triggers instead of avoiding them. And instead of living in fear, use the triggers and the discomfort of those situations to start creating more freedom within yourself. Bring it to your practice. Bring these triggers to your practice and remind yourself that you are safe in your body, that you hold the answers, and that you are the leader of your own life, and that you get to bring that out into the world.
I've been noting all this down because I know everyone's going to ask, what were those 4 steps again, or 4 things? Don't worry, everyone. I'm going to drop it. I'll drop it in the comments so that way everyone has access to those too. And if you have a question for Donata, we have a little bit of time left, so feel free to drop those into the comments. And
I love this here. My creative outlet is music. I have a specific that just motivates me and reminds me that I am a masterpiece. Yes, the words fit in every aspect of life. Yes, that's it. Find what it is. Only you know. We can all encourage you and we can give, ideas and tools that have worked for us, but that is enough. And we underestimate the value of, I'm going to give myself some time and just dance to the song that creates the new energy in my day. Take that time. It's so, so important. Our company has multiple committees to ensure inclusion for everybody, from parenting support groups to admin groups and even leadership, sponsorship, and mentorships. Amazing.
That's
do all of it. Yeah.
Fawn, I'd love for you to share where you work if you feel comfortable. No worries if not, but that's amazing.
That's incredible.
I love that, and we were talking about this before too, about what we allow ourselves to do and how we feel when we don't allow ourselves to do those things. Mine is writing. I try to promise 20 minutes a day. Sometimes it's 5, sometimes it's nothing, but then sometimes it's and I was telling you how I noticed, I was like, oh, why do I feel like I have so much good going on right now? I was moving and my kids' schedules were changing and I wasn't putting time to do things that fulfill me. And it was starting to slowly chip away at me. And, I write sci-fi fantasy stuff. So it's like, I told my husband.
I love that so much.
My husband always says, well, have you been writing about your vampires? He's like, you need to go write about your vampires. He just thinks that's all it is, But it's like, share with your partner too.
Oh my gosh, celebrate all of it. It's really we take things backwards. We think that we're going to manage our lives perfectly so that we can make space for the stuff that really sets our souls on fire. If we're setting our souls on fire on a regular basis, we change the way we fuel our energy. Instead of being fueled by anxiety and fear and am I doing everything right and am I checking things off the list and starting the day off. I remember this vividly. Waking up in the morning, the first thing I feel is don't know what that's about. Don't know what, everything's fine, but I felt this anxiety of how am I going to start this day? I already felt like I did something wrong. The day hadn't even started and I was already wrong. I was already making myself wrong. Instead of having such peace and confidence in your abilities that you start by setting your soul on fire, because this is what you're bringing to the table. You are, of course, going to manage life and, do all the things. We're doing all the things no matter what. Can we do it in joy? Can we do it in peace? Can we do it in inspiration and change the world from the inside out? So change your fuel. Yeah.
Change your fuel. I love that. That reminds me, I was watching, I'm a big nerd, and I was watching The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and Anthony Mackie, who is one of the lead actors. I don't know if you're Marvel nerds out there, but he said something about—
No idea what you're talking about, but go ahead.
But he was talking about, they were adapting something from a comic book in the show, and if fans were upset, and he said, the news portrays so much bad right now, but inherently, most people are really good. And I just try to tune everything else out and focus on what's good. And I was like, that is just so, I think that's a good thing to remember, that sometimes we go into situations and, like you said, we expect the worst. We expect judgment and we expect, just judgment and negativity. And that shouldn't be the case. That isn't always the case. And if we go into situations with an open mind and expecting fulfillment, and that comes with knowing what that should look like, things are going to start to feel better. You will start to feel better.
Yes.
If you're a parent, you're going to be a better mom or dad.
Here's the thing that one of my teachers said once. I did a yoga teacher training, and she said something that was so profound to me. She said, you know, all these things I'm teaching you guys, I don't know if they're true. It's all hypothetical, but I'm choosing the hypothetical that makes me feel at peace and then makes me happy. If we're in hypothetical anyway, you know if you're being judged. You don't know if shit's going to hit the fan today. You don't know all these things. So if you are already in hypothetical, choose a scenario that empowers you. Why are you choosing the scenario that's going to make you feel, you know, like you are waiting for the other shoe to drop? We get to, it's choice, but come into awareness, see it for what it is. It's just a storyline that we're telling ourselves, oftentimes based on the patterning from our childhood that's been reinforced over time, but we are truly creating our own reality. And if you live by those beliefs, you will start seeing the world accordingly. We're doing is justifying our beliefs in every situation that we're in. So if you think that you're being judged and you're in a room and people look at you a funny way, you're automatically going to feel justified in your belief. Oh, see, they're judging me. But if you come at it from a completely different perspective, that stuff's not going to even be on your radar. And chances are, good chances are, this person wasn't even thinking about you.
Right.
Nobody's really paying attention to what everyone's just in their own juice, you know, trying to figure this thing out. So choose an empowering belief, because it's a belief no matter what. It's just, we're just making this up. Create your own storyline of what life is about. And I choose to believe that I'm a goddess and that I'm bringing my best energy to the world, that my purpose work is to help others find theirs. And that's the reality I'm creating for myself. I don't need to effort at this. I feel it deep into my core. All I need to do is present myself to the world from that place. Lead from this place. You don't need to worry about anything else, and stop worrying about what other people think. That is a storyline that's the number one storyline to debunk. Put that to rest, be you, and see what happens. Just experiment. Listen, I'm just giving you an option to experiment. Give it a try for a month. If you need me to help you navigate this and walk you through it, you can reach out to me, but you can do it. Take these steps, put them to practice, and see what happens, and be brave. Be brave, because this path is not going to avoid triggers. If anything, once you start changing, triggers are going to come to the surface. I love what Peter Crone says. He says, life presents you with people and circumstances to show you, to reveal to you where you're not free.
Yeah.
Take those opportunities, and instead of, identifying your self-worth to those situations, use these opportunities to say, oh, wow, I'm still holding weird storylines around this. I'm still putting these people and those situations on a pedestal. Everything needs to come down from those pedestals that we've built around everyone else but ourselves. Put yourself on the pedestal. Put yourself on the pedestal and start living your life from that place of full sovereignty.
I love that. I love that. Well, firstly, we're going to put "I choose to be a goddess" on a t-shirt. That's my next. That's my next step. I'm obsessed with that, and I think that's a perfect way to wrap up our discussion today. Is you choose, you get the choice, and we forget that the choice isn't anyone else's. How we feel, it is your decision. And if you need help doing that, it is 100% okay.
100%. You guys, it's we've been living our lives this way for how long? It takes time to unravel, to peel away. But I will also tell you, once you get the keys, once you really integrate this, life changes instantaneously. The way you relate to life changes in an instant. And yeah, you realize that you are the only one responsible for your frequency and for your happiness.
I love that. And I am so grateful that you were able to come and speak and share this space with us today. We are so appreciative.
It's such a gift. It's
Thank
such a gift. Thank you for having me. And yes, reach out to me. So I'm really bad at social media. My website is in progress. I'm not good at all those things, but I'm getting there. But if you want to reach out to me, my Instagram is at Donata Boston, first and last name. My phone number is in my bio, so you can just text me, you can DM me, whatever all these people do these days. And my website is being built right now, and it will be donataboston.com. So you can always find me there as well.
Perfect. And I'll include that in our recap email, as well as those different phases that she walked through today, everyone. And thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you're going to go into the afternoon with this perspective and with this mindset, and let us know how it works for you. These videos, whether you're watching on YouTube or on Facebook, they're on here indefinitely. So come back and drop your thoughts in the chat. Tag us if you have a question, and we can keep the discussion going. Thank you again for joining us today.
I love it. Thank you, guys. Have a great day.